Hello, everyone. My name is Juern, and today I will talk about the overview of creative arts industry to everyone. We'll just wait a couple more minutes until more people join, and then go from there. All right, then the moderator has letting me know that we can start. So welcome to this live webinar. As I already said, my name is Juern. I'm head of faculty of arts at UCA BSBI in Hamburg. And with me today is my colleague Liz Fernando, which is head of arts operation and head of foundation at UCA BSBI in Hamburg. My background is in advertising. I've been 23 years there, and that's why I can talk a bit, quite a bit about the creative arts industry in Germany and then in Hamburg in specific. So today I will talk a bit about how the creative arts industry contributes to economy, what it's like to work there, and what kind of sectors are there where you can work, and what are the main employers in Germany of creative people, and also about the typical and key issues that occur in the creative industry. And after that, Liz and I are open for any questions that occur, and will be there for a while for you to ask and us to answer. So the creative arts industry or creative industry and economy in Germany, they're quite friendly. The creative industry is about 145 billion euros worth in 2019, which is like head-to-head with mechanical engineering and is way more valuable than energy suppliers, financial services, and the chemical industry. And the only industry that had more revenue is like the well-known German car industry, automotive industry, which is like, I think, double the value in 2019. We don't have any recent numbers for 2020, but as you can see, it's quite important, and therefore Germany is quite a big player in the creative industry in Europe as well. We have almost 2 million employees in 2019 as well. And of that, almost 250,000 were freelancers, which is quite a high rate. And this is as well quite typical for the very agile environment of creative industry, that you have a lot of people that are like freelancing and been booked by different agencies or companies, and creative people really like the independency as well. So it's not uncommon for creatives to be like in permanent positions, and after a time switch to freelancing, switching back to permanent position, and back and forth. So it's not very uncommon that almost 10% or 15% of the employees are freelancers. The creative industry in Germany is so important, and it is like a driver for the future as well, that the government had a lot of initiatives for funding the creative industry to secure their competitiveness and like their future, basically, because they have recognized, well, we need to like invest in the digital and creative industry to be competitive in like on a global scale. And as we've seen in a couple last years, the automotive industry is climbing downwards. So the German population and like the German economy they really need the creative industry as one of their main pillars. So the government was keen on it to fund it and to ensure the longevity and the competitiveness of all the players in this field. And so it's not only the industry, but also like the education and so on, and so like the whole, so to say, creative economy within the economy. So what it's like to work there in the creative industry, it's different because basically you are the one who is shaping the present and is shaping the future world we live in. What means is that in the creative field, there is a lot of innovation. Scientists may like find new ways, new technologies, but in the end, to be applicable for the end user, you will need creatives, designers to design objects, appliances, to be usable for the end consumer. And that's why we are on the very, very frontier to the future, while shaping our present, creating products for today, and like pushing at the same time the boundaries. And as Peter Drucker said, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And it often feels like that. As a creative, you kind of live in a bubble because you're constantly bombarded with all the new innovations, and you have to be on track and keep up with it. And then if you look back and look outside your bubble, you see that, okay, we are at the very, very top and at the very tip of it. And the broad mass behind us doesn't even know that. So we have to be careful not to drift away, and also to keep in mind to take them with us and design products and apps and whatsoever, so that the others are able to join us on our way to the future. And while being there and working on these things, you really work with great minds. You're working with uh, famous inventors, you're working with famous artists, with famous designers. And this is quite unique, I think, in that kind of way. So your way from joining the creative industry as a professional to working with quite well-known people or well-known brands is quite a short way, whereas this might be a longer way in other branches of the economy. And so this is something I always valued, and I really liked to be able to work with all these super creative people, not only just celebrities, but also like, yeah, super engaged and super yeah, hyped people that have a lot of energy and yeah, radiated. And so the whole creative industry is very radiant and very dynamic in itself. And on the other hand, while working with all these brands and people, you get a good look behind the scenes, how things work. And this is also something that is super important as a creative. You can't design or create things if you don't know how they work. Otherwise, this design will be just superficial. And one rule of design is that design form follows function. So in order to fulfill this like rule, you need to really know how things work, how they should work, and what the outcome is. And this gives you so many opportunities to look into aspects of the life you usually don't see. If you make, for instance, a commercial for a car manufacturer, you will see a lot behind the scenes stuff about cars. if you're working for a healthcare company, you will learn a lot about healthcare, about medicine, about pharmacy, and so on. If you be in FMCG, you will learn a lot about distribution of things and what the problems are, or the takeaways. So this is also a lot of like input that keeps your mind going and racing, and you have to like basically compute all these information on a day-to-day basis, and then bring this back into your designs, in your creative process, and then in the final product. So where to work in this industry? Where can I get employed? The creative industry is divided in several parts, which is advertising, which is maybe quite well known, but we also have like IT and games, which is creative. Like every app that you use has been designed, every game you play has been designed. Fashion, of course, is one big part, and fashion has always been the driver of the future, because it's been quite close to art, and art has always been like the critical voice in society that challenges the status quo and is looking into the future and trying to like broaden your horizon. And so fashion is quite close to that. So it considers itself really like the driver of future. Then like general design, which means like interior design, industrial design, or just designing like your daily paperwork you have, like how does it look, your brand design. This is a bit more complex, that field. Then you have architecture, which is like design and engineering together, which is like a bit more scientific, so to say, a bit more math. And then there's a whole sector that is dealing with all motion and film things, and is used by all of these other branches, but like is a whole different branch than being in advertising, or in fashion, or design, IT, and games. You might find people that have knowledge across these several parts, but it's its own branch. And these different industries within the industry, they can be divided, where you can be employed. One side are agencies, which are like have different clients, and the other side are companies, which is just one client. And the difference between these two is that in agencies, it feels like you have a lot of clients. It feels very agile, very dynamic. You have a lot of different inputs. You will work for this brand today, another brand tomorrow. Whereas in companies, it feels more solid, not dull, not boring, but more solid, not as dynamic, but like very fundamental, and also great anyway. And this is a decision as a designer, as a creative, you have to do, whether you want to have like a super quick dynamic environment, or like be focused on one brand and bring that brand forward, or one game, one fashion line. And of course, you can always switch between these two. And there's also a constant dynamic between companies outsourcing and insourcing certain services, which is like over the years going back and forth and back and forth. And yeah, so as a creative, over the years, you will find yourself on most likely on both sides of this. And talking about this back and forth between agencies and companies and maybe even different branches. How can a typical career of a creative look like? So your steps through your creative career are quite, on one hand, quite predefined, as we will see. So you will start off as a designer, then as some kind of art director. This may vary from branch to branch. They might be called different in gaming industry or in architecture. And then you have your creative directors. And these three career steps are divided into, as a designer, into junior, mid-level, senior, which will be like 1 to 2 years as a junior, sometimes 3 years, then mid-level, same 2 to 3 years, senior. After you have been a senior designer, you will then be promoted to the art director, and there again is like junior, mid-level, senior. And with each level, there's more responsibility, and senior art directors already having like small teams to coordinate, and then you eventually will become a creative director, and there is no junior level. Basically, the senior art director is the junior creative director. You will then be creative director, and then after that, you will climb up the ladder to executive, and even then chief creative officer if you want to. This career is not like predefined. You don't have to take all these steps. Especially if you graduated from university, you will most likely not join as a junior designer, but as a junior art director. This is the big difference between just having an apprenticeship as a designer or having studied art and design. Then you will start off as a junior art director. And if you don't want to, you don't have to become a creative director. You can stay an art director until the senior level your whole life. You don't have to become a CCO if you don't want to. But this would be like your typical career path. So these are just the steps, but just to conclude, the designer is more like assistance and execution. Art direction is creative ideation, and the creative director is more like management. But if you look at the real path you go through, the journey, this is very individual. You might start off in gaming industry, and as soon as your interests change, you might find yourself in advertising or in film because you just experienced, yeah, I quite like to animate things and like these sequences in games. I like them. So you're drifting more and more to film, or technology changes. You might have started off as a print designer, and today you are a digital creative director because in the meantime, through your journey there, the internet happened, and all of a sudden you change from classical print design to digital design. And of course, your journey will also change with your experience, which means you learn a lot, or you meet a lot of new people, and then you might think, okay, this seems like an interesting part, and then you gain experience because no one else in your agency or your company is capable of that work. So you're learning new stuff, and then you're more and more experienced in this sector, and then you switch from, I don't know, from architecture to fashion design whatsoever. This is possible, can happen, and not rare. So you really rarely start off as one and end as the same. You will change your path throughout your career. And of course, it will also change with the employer. You might change agencies, companies, and they might have a different focus, or the job you apply for has new challenges or opportunities you will face. And depending on your interest, on your experience, you might shift your focus in that. And then you might shift from a super technical job to super creative job. And this is possible. Like I myself started off um, as a computer scientist and ended up as a creative director in a advertising agency. So there's been a huge change in this path, but it happens. Um, and I've seen the first questions coming up. Um, I think I will refer to them at the end, at the Q&A, and then because they're kind of built on each other. So bear with me. Yeah. So having seen this journey, there's also some key issues that the creative industry faces. One thing is that from the perspective of the employer is, do they learn anything at uni at all? Like you often have this problem, you're employing a student and they are not fit for agency life or for company life. They just did not learn about the workflows, the lingo, the structure, or how to work like interdisciplinary, which is super important that you have like your project manager who you have to report to, who is always um, on your back, asking for deadlines, asking for this and that, and of course, clients. And in most universities, this is not taught. They're quite far away from reality. You learn a lot about theory and so on, but as soon as you are in the real world out there, it looks a bit different, and it's hard to get a job then, and you often start off having internships at first instead of having your degree and start working and earning money, or like real money. So the other thing is, and this is for uh, employees as well as for employers and companies, the whole creative industry is highly competitive. Uh, at last, at least we offer services, and people are trying to always get a bargain and to get the best value for their money. And this is like the same for companies. So they will they will call 2 to 3 to 5 agencies for a project to pitch against each other, and then they will choose the agency they like most, and maybe the one with the most competitive pricing scheme. And so they always have to be like up to date. You can't just like lean back and enjoy what you've done. You have to be on your toes and always constantly improve yourself and look out to stay on top. And this, like I said, is for the employees as well as for the agencies or companies as well. This is on the other side also um, the fun of it, to always work with the newest technologies, inventions, because you need to be the first. You need to be on top, and it's like an internal drive to keep that. And also because of that, it's super fast paced and it gets faster and faster every year, because we have all these technologies that come up every year, and it's like an exponential growth of possibilities. A new tool there, another tool there. You have to learn it, and you have to keep up. And things are changing really quick, really quick, and so you need to be there. And it's also like the highly competitiveness. It's also a great fun because you have a team that is pushing forward. You're never alone. You're like always working really close with your teammates, with the colleagues, and like as a team you are like running or reaching for your goals, and it feels great. The whole process is really inspiring itself, and it feels great to implement new things, to create things that have never been there, people have never seen, and will keep people interested or stay in their minds. And so this is like fast pace and high competitiveness are two really great issues, but also like drivers in the creative industry. And we have to prepare students in the university, we have to prepare them for that, to be not laid back, to be able to adapt quick and fast. And at UCI BSBA, this is our curriculum. This is what we do. We're closely connected to the industry, and we teach the daily business, and at a very high level. And this is how we create legends at the end. It's not just mediocre. You're at the very top and very new to this. Yeah. So if there have been already some questions, I will answer them. And if I can't answer them, I'm more than happy to give over to Liz to answer them. And I will go through. Okay, so the first question is there any internship offered on the programs? It is part of our program that you work in the industry, in the agency, and we're currently like talking to partners to give the possibilities for not like only internships, but for being a student in their company. So that's a bit different to an internship. So it's more closely, and you will have you will be there not just for 3 or 6 months, more like for a couple of for the ideally for the whole time of your study at the university. Of course, this cannot be like guaranteed for each and everyone, because you again have to apply as well. So they might offer a couple of spots, and then you have to apply, and then they will choose the students of their liking for that. If I complete my course with internship, can I go straight into mid-level? Yeah, not mid-level, but if I go back to the excuse me, to this chart, you can't like go to an art director mid-level. This is already quite a high career step. You will join here as a junior art director, because you then already like had these during your study, and can join as a junior art director, which is quite a privilege. So mid-level won't be possible. Yeah, in the opposite would be like if you don't have any experience, you might even start off as a design trainee, which is like down there before the junior, if you don't have any education at all, any apprenticeship, or maybe some after apprenticeship you even have to start as a trainee, but you can join as a junior art director after the graduation. if you're studying graphics design and change interest in animation, can I change course, and would I start all over or continue with previous credit? On one hand, the courses are very intertwined. So you um, like if you study animation, you won't only study animation, you will also gain knowledge from graphic design, and vice versa, and from illustration. And I think these kind of questions that they have to be decided on a case-to-case basis. And we have to look at your credits and at your grades, and then make that decision. And yeah, that I don't think that we can't have like a general yes or no on that. But because the three courses are taught quite closely, and not separate to each other, there is a good chance that this can be done. Um, what can I learn from BSBI that will be different from other universities? The difference is, like I said, we are very close to like your real life work environment. We will have projects that include or interlock all three courses, like illustration, graphic design, and animation. Students will work together on these, just like in the real world. So you have a project where the illustrator, the art director, and the animator will like work in a chain. The illustrator creating illustrations and storyboards and so on. The graphic designer adding typography and elements of visual communication, and the animator then animating the whole project. And we will also have roles for everyone, like you're the program, you're the project manager, so you learn all the different traits that are necessary in the fields. And we're also like establishing this really close bond to the industry, that you can work at the partner companies. So it is like almost like a dual study. What do the illustration animation programs offer? I think you need to a bit to specify that. If you haven't looked um, into our program information, there's program information available on our website, where you can see in detail what the different courses are, what you will learn on that. And otherwise, I think you need to specify a bit what the question is. Then, is it a competitive market to get a job? Yes and no. It is a growing economy. It is a growing market, so it is easy to get a job. Actually, currently with COVID, companies are more likely to invest, for instance, in advertising. A lot of startups in the gaming industry have been created, so there are a lot of job opportunities, and the whole creative industry hasn't suffered that much from the lockdowns. I mean, there are some branches that, of course, suffered losses, but overall, has been quite stable, and a lot of new jobs have been created in the last year. It is competitive in that case. You have to be a good designer to get a job. If you're a bad designer, if you're bad at your craft, it's hard to get or maintain a job. But I think that's most likely true for any other job as well. if you are, for instance, a bad welder, you won't retain that job for long. Yeah. What career path can I choose after studying and go into? I think we answered that a bit already. It's if you studied at BSBI, you can join as a junior art director, and the fields would be you can go into advertising, into design, into film, and even into games. You might not get into fashion or architecture. That's not most likely, but all the others are quite possible to go in there, to go into app development, of course, or games, advertising, film, design, brand design. That's quite possible. What is student life in Hamburg? Hamburg actually has a quite a vibrant student life. We have two very well-known city districts, Schanze and St. Pauli, which are the student city districts, and we have it. It started like a couple of months ago again after lockdown. A great nightlife. It's Hamburg itself is a very young city. You will see a lot of young people, a lot of students. You have a lot of also opportunities to go outside Hamburg. It's I think a half an hour drive and you're in like in the woods in the nature, which I really like and many people appreciate. Hamburg also doesn't feel like uh, like a skyscraper city because we don't have skyscrapers. It has a very family-like, very friendly appeal to it, and we have a lot of parks, a lot of green, uh, a lot of greens, yeah. And the parks, we have one large park where there are even programs in summer which are free of charge. Like at night, there are sound and light shows, and yeah, you will find a lot of students all over the place there. Yeah. What's BSBI's approach to teaching? Is it more technical or creative? This is we are it is more about the creativeness. We are educating about creativity, how to foster your creativity, how to channel it, and for that you also need some technical insights and understanding, especially because these three courses are digital. You need to understand the medium you're working for and working with. So it is necessary to understand that. But we are not technical in a way that we teach like technical drawing, basically, or that you work after a certain guideline. We are more about giving you all the creative tools and the creative mindset, foster your creative mindset to develop you as a person, as you are, and educate you and educate. Mm, so creativity is a lot of educated view on things, and this is what we teach a lot. This is what we focus on. Does graphic design involve animation? Um, it will touch animation, but like animation like film, no. That's why we have the animation course where we deep dive into that and specialize in it. But of course, like if you are creating UI designs, animation of UI will be part of that because it plays a big part in yeah, current designs. Yeah, no more questions now. Yeah, then thanks for having me. If any more questions arise, just contact us at hamburg.admin@berlinsbi.com. And we are happy to answer your questions and talk to you if there anything more to know. And yeah, I think we'll be back with another webinar soon. And if you want to join that, feel free, and you will get the information through Berlin SBI. So yeah, thanks everyone, and have a good day, I guess, and bye.